Welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we're diving into a phenomenon that pretty much everyone living here in Dubai experiences, but honestly, very few people truly understand. I'm coming to you as a medical educator representing Westminster Multispecialty Clinic right here in Dubai Healthcare City. At our clinic, our orthopedic specialists spend a ton of time analyzing exactly how our unique environment interacts with the human body. And today, we're going to break down the actual medical reality behind why your joints just seem to ache so much more during the intense heat of a Dubai summer.
You know, if you've lived in Dubai long enough, you have absolutely heard someone say this. Or, let's be real, you've probably said it yourself. My joints are a reliable weather forecast. It is incredibly common. You might notice that joints that felt totally fine back in February suddenly start feeling really heavy by June. Maybe a stiffness creeps in during the morning and just takes way longer to shake off, or an old injury quietly starts acting up again. Well, I want to validate this for you right out of the gate. This is not all in your head. At Westminster Multispecialty Clinic, we're constantly reassuring our patients that having heavy, stiff joints in the summer heat is a very real, very physical physiological response. It's just basic biology reacting to a rather extreme environment.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our consultation overview for today. We'll be covering the summer joint reality, how heat impacts tissue, the hidden dehydration danger, the indoor exercise trap, and finally, when to seek expert help. All right, Section 1, the summer joint reality. Let's look at these seasonal joint changes. So at Westminster Multispecialty Clinic, we see this massive shift in patient experiences the absolute second the temperature spikes. I mean, think about what happens when the ambient temperature is sitting at a sustained 42 degrees Celsius. When your body is exposed to that kind of intense, continuous heat, it immediately prioritizes one single thing: cooling you down. And to do that, the blood vessels right near your skin dilate. It's a brilliant evolutionary mechanism, right? It draws your circulation toward the surface of your skin to radiate heat away. But there is a trade-off. By pulling that vital circulation toward the surface, your body's simultaneously pulling blood flow away from its deeper structures. And yep, that includes your joints and the tissue surrounding them. For most of us, this is just temporary. But if you have any existing joint inflammation whatsoever, this sudden shift in circulation can really amplify the discomfort that was already quietly sitting there.
Moving on to Section 2. How heat impacts tissue. We're going to talk about internal structure shifts.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how our orthopedics team constantly evaluates the way extreme heat physically alters your body's internal structures. Take synovial fluid, for instance. This is the biological liquid that lubricates your joints so they can glide without friction. But here's the catch. Synovial fluid is highly sensitive to heat. When things get hot outside, its viscosity actually changes. It thins out. It's literally just like engine oil in a car thinning out when it gets way too hot. And because that fluid viscosity drops, the joint just doesn't move quite as smoothly. This perfectly explains why our patients who have arthritis or even just minor cartilage wear report that their symptoms feel so much more pronounced during the summer, even if they haven't changed their physical activity at all.
But hey, it isn't just the fluid, it's your connective tissue too. Heat actually causes your tendons and ligaments to become slightly more relaxed and pliable. Now, on the surface, being more flexible sounds like a huge win, right? But medically speaking, a warmer, more relaxed tendon actually has less tensile resistance. Because it's softer, it becomes dangerously easy to overload under sudden or unexpected stress. So you might step outside, feel the heat, and think you're perfectly warmed up just from walking to your car. But the reality is, your tissues are actually much more vulnerable to strain.
And we really have to separate temperature from humidity here because they do entirely different things to the body. While intense heat alters your tissue flexibility, high humidity slows down the rate at which your sweat evaporates. And since sweat evaporation is our primary cooling mechanism, your cardiovascular system is suddenly forced to go into overdrive just to maintain a safe core temperature. So what happens next? Premature muscle fatigue. Your muscles tire out way before your nervous system even registers a warning. And when your muscles get tired, they stop absorbing impact. Guess what takes the impact instead? Yep, your joints. Honestly, the damage from just one single session of pushing through a heavy, humid July evening run can take weeks to fully resolve.
There is one more big environmental factor at play here: barometric pressure. When the humidity shifts, atmospheric pressure often drops. This right here is the real, actual mechanism behind those weather forecast joints we talked about earlier. Lower atmospheric pressure actually allows the tissues inside your joint capsule to expand just a little bit. And because the joint capsule is a tight, enclosed space, that expansion increases the internal pressure on the surrounding nerves. You feel that exact expansion as a deep, aching stiffness.
Which brings us to Section 3, the hidden dehydration danger and cartilage vulnerability.
we have to talk about the unique Dubai lifestyle. You know, constantly moving between those incredibly dry, air-conditioned offices and sweltering underground car parks. At Westminster Multispecialty Clinic, we constantly remind our patients of one critical biological fact. Your cartilage has absolutely no direct blood supply. None. Zero. Instead, it gets its nutrients and its moisture through a sponge-like process called diffusion from that surrounding synovial fluid. If you are even slightly dehydrated, which happens so easily in dry AC environments, your cartilage becomes less cushioned and incredibly vulnerable to wear and tear. So, we recommend a strict cartilage diffusion protocol. For sedentary adults, that means a baseline of 3 liters of fluid daily. But you also absolutely must incorporate heavy, mineral-rich electrolytes because plain water is not going to replace what the humid heat steals from you. You need consistent, spaced-out timing too. Chugging a whole liter at once doesn't work. And critically, you need to monitor your morning stiffness. If your joints are incredibly stiff when you wake up and they ease really slowly, that's often a major sign of inadequate overnight hydration, not necessarily a structural problem.
All right, Section 4, the indoor exercise trap. Let's look at gym overuse injuries. Pretty much every July, our clinic observes a major behavioral pattern. Well-meaning patients trying to maintain their fitness by migrating their workouts inside. Which begs a really important question. Is moving your workout indoors actually safer for your body? I mean, it seems completely logical. The environment is climate-controlled, it feels forgiving, and it's a great way to stay fit. Yet, every single summer, gyms in July see a very meaningful spike in overuse injuries. People who were running outdoors suddenly switch to daily treadmill sessions and gym work, just assuming that since the total time spent is identical, the physical cost on the body must be identical too. But I promise you, the body firmly disagrees with that logic.
The issue really comes down to the mechanics of movement. See, when you run outdoors, you are navigating varied terrain. There are tiny, constant micro-variations in every single step you take, which naturally distributes the physical load across different muscle fibers and joint angles. But when you move to repetitive treadmill loading, you completely lose that variation. The exact same structures are absorbing the exact same impact in the exact same way, literally thousands of times per session. This highly concentrated surface loading heavily stresses the spine and the lower body joints. Honestly, it's a primary reason why we see back and spine pain increase so much during the summer. People are doing these high-intensity sessions that load the spine in incredibly concentrated, repetitive ways.
Finally, Section 5, when to seek expert help. How to spot structural warnings. So the crucial point is knowing that some degree of joint discomfort in the summer is totally normal. But how do you know when it's time to stop resting and actually seek a professional assessment? Well, our orthopedic specialists look for a few specific differences. Normal summer discomfort looks like stiffness on humid mornings, maybe mild swelling in your feet by the evening, or a dull fatigue during a workout. Those things usually settle down with proper hydration and rest. However, pay close attention to the structural warning signs. If you have pain that actually wakes you up at night, swelling that just will not go down even after resting, or a joint that locks, gives way, or produces a literal mechanical grinding sensation, these are not just summer-related aches. This is your body desperately signaling that something is structurally wrong and needs immediate medical attention.
We see both ends of this spectrum all the time at Westminster Multispecialty Clinic. And the most honest, direct advice our team can give you is this. The discomfort that feels somewhat manageable in July has a really terrible habit of becoming the major injury that completely sidelines you in October, right when the weather turns beautiful and the city comes back to life. An assessment with our team right now costs maybe an hour of your time, but missing out on Dubai's active winter season, that costs considerably more.
So I want to leave you with this final thought to really consider. Are you just managing seasonal discomfort, or are you ignoring a structural warning sign that needs fixing today? Knowing exactly which category you fall into is literally the single most useful thing you can do for your joint health this summer. If you have any doubts at all, please don't wait for it to get worse. Reach out to our team at Westminster Multispecialty Clinic to get a clear picture before the problem gets ahead of you. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Stay hydrated out there and take good care of those joints.